Right.
Nobody, thank goodness.
Maybe I should come up.
How many calls?
We got over a case, right?
Yeah,
Well, there was.
there is.
A few bottles short.
It's all there.
You should have said, no, there was only a half a case.
I do accept wine as gift for
Flags are
Christmas,
up.
just to let you know.
Yeah, okay. My watch broke. Okay. No, I can go to
And I
my.
think this is good. I mean, I have like 4 of, but
Yeah,
I think
it's
it's
back
slow.
3 of. Close enough. What's the phone say? Is that what
Lies.
it- You think it lies?
Have you seen any difference in your
No.
cell towers?
I have 4 of.
I got
They
654.
say
Huh?
this is great.
If you got Verizon,
If you
it's
have
better.
Verizon, you should be in good
Much
shape.
better.
I can call from the family room now. It's like before I could not.
I know, we had people calling City Hall. I've got bars on my phone. Has Verizon done something? Yeah, their tower's up. Their antenna's on the
I used to
tower.
have to hang out the bay window and say, just a minute.
I know it bothered me just looking up there and watching the guy up there.
They say that, like, if you have a track
because I didn't get
phone,
it.
that apparently track phones bounce off other antennas
They
or
do.
something.
They do.
And so that's what somebody remarked the other day, how, they asked me how come their track phone is working so much better. I said, well, I don't know anything about
You
the
got
technology,
that
that's the only
many
thing that's
antennas.
different.
They're constantly roaming.
All right.
We can charge them a little bit. You know, just pay a little bit to the city and we'll keep that up.
Bribe.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
We'll use
Use your phone.
I'll use the official one. I think it was, we're on 3 minutes and counting. I think if you check if Barb's okay, we're probably good to go. If she's
Barb, you
not-
all set? You are? Oh, we can't tell any, oh, okay, Joe. All right, let me get to my, okay, well, I'll get to my agenda and we'll get started then. Oh. I'll call this meeting to order. Please all rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First off, we'd like to hear from visitors, and we would start with Representative Clark and Representative Lampier. Who would like to go first? We just, Mel took and told you what we'd like to hear from you, so everything's gonna be perfect, right, this year?
Sure. It's a good thing I have 2 ears and 1 mouth. I had some big work done, so I won't articulate as well. It's better for me to listen than it is for me to talk tonight. But thank you for inviting us to be here. You know that we're always, available whenever the council wants to hear. We live right in the town, so we're no stranger even when we're in Montpelier. So the upcoming session, of course, we'll be dealing with, number 1 will be the budget and the deficit that we see that's in the horizon, and I believe is making progress. I think for the town's perspective, some of the things that I'd like to continue to work on is, keeping the property tax rate on our part down, if not non-existent. Both of us did some good work in the last session regarding that. I know that it didn't translate all the way down to taxpayers in every sense, but I was very pleased with the work that we have done. I'd like to, if I'm allowed to continue to stay on transportation, I'm asking for that assignment again. And from that environment, some of the things that have percolated that I'd like to take that would have impact on the towns would be looking at shared equipment. I have not had a conversation with Mel about this, but I have with some of the road crew and some of the other towns around shared equipment for efficiencies and economic purposes. It's been made known to me that a particular town at one point needed a grader and possibly the state or through VTrans had access to a grader that was not allowed to very easily be used or shared. And I think that's something that we can look at and examine, how we could better benefit between the state agencies and local road crews for equipment and maybe possibly anything else. I've had the opportunity to work with Mel on the railroad station committee, and it's had its ups and downs. And I believe currently, without going into a long time on that, it is on the right track, no pun intended, where it's going with that. It's now the bid is in the hands of BGS, and I believe it's been adjusted in a way that I think relieves Mel of being the pressure point, although he's still very majorly involved in this process around some of those decisions. The solar farm out in Ferrisburg, which I still am right on the borderline, is going to be having a grand opening soon.
December 15th, I've received a written invitation email, and there'll be a hard copy coming
Yeah.
3:30 in the afternoon.
Terrific. So I'm looking forward to that and any other opportunities that we see within our communities and within our districts on that. The bridge celebration a committee has been formed and is in the works of putting together some planning for that. Hopefully, before the snow flies again, it will open, and I'll keep you informed, and I'm sure you'll hear about that. There's a bi-state parks agreement that I've been working with around down there, and that gateway, much like moving the railroad station, it's going to have some bumps along the road, but in the end, I believe that we're headed for some success in that. After the expansion and the bus service has been terrific, which Jim and I presented to you some numbers before, but I can report to you that I believe as of yesterday, Google Transit went live. And Actor will be the first in the state to have that type of arrangement online where you can go and inquire, I want to go from here to here, what buses, what connections, what do I need to make that connection. I'm going to stop talking and allow my co-district mate here to continue, and I want to hear from you before I leave too, what you believe are some of the legislative priorities that we should carry to market here. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Diane. Greg?
Mayor Daniels, I think this is a great way to start, because one of the budget notwithstanding, one of the most important issues that we're going to be dealing with this year, I think all of us, is making sure that we are in, if not constant, pretty steady communication with each other. The issues, as you all well know, are huge. If we're looking at a $112 million budget deficit to start with, it may be higher. We're looking at the issue around Vermont Yankee, does it stay, does it go? All of those, we're looking at transportation things, obviously, that affect us. All of these things are, there's going to be a lot of discussion about. I hope there'll be a lot of discussion about. It's going to take some serious people to make some big decisions around these issues. And one of the ways that I think Diane and I hopefully will be most effective in our district is to make sure that we stay in touch with you all and that you stay in touch with us, because around the budget, around Vermont Yankee, around transportation things, around probation and parole and corrections, we could be looking at a whole different system before we get through, none of which is going to be cheaper for any of us. So that's going to be all part of the discussion, and hopefully you guys will feel free, as you always have, to give us your input.
Okay. I'd offer up to council to bring any subjects that they'd like to ask or make known to the representatives now so that they could start preparing for their upcoming. Zig?
I don't even have enough time, but anyways. My main concern is health insurance right now. We have a problem, they're calling Vermont the older state. Well, you know, we spend a lot of money on education to educate our people, then they can't stay. I know that Vermont has one of the better health forms programs, especially for children that are autism and, you know, diabetes, and they take them all. But the problem, what we did is that the state of Vermont is a small state. And every time we're limited certain outfits to come in here, there's a group from 40,000 up, younger couples, that can't afford health insurance because they don't qualify for any programs. Like me, for instance. There's 3 different companies now, not 2, but 3 would take me. I have no health insurance, but you know what? The state of Vermont won't let them come in. One of them was $375 a month, the other one was $422, and the other one I think was $430. I get a quote from Vermont, it's $685. My son at one time, before his wife finally got into the system, he was paying $1,200 a month for health insurance for a family of 4. And because he didn't qualify for any of these programs, he's more fortunate because he does have a good business. But there's other kids out there, I know, a lot of his friends, they don't have insurance. They don't even have insurance on their kids. The only thing they could qualify, some don't even qualify for the dinosaur program. Great, we help in this one group, but I think people drop the ball because there's another group, which is probably 3-to-1 ratio factor, don't have health insurance. These people, these kids that we educated, now they move out. And they go someplace else where actually they can make a living and have those rights of having health insurance. I think we got to do something about this because it's getting worse.
Diane?
Your concern is the youth and their access to health care. Am I hearing that correctly?
I can't hear.
She's saying that youth, you're concerned about youth having access to health care.
Especially the kids that make 40,000 up. They don't qualify for anything.
Actually, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're really concerned about health care in
That's
general
right.
for all ages.
For all ages.
For all ages, Diane, not just the youths.
Okay.
I mean, it's across the board. A statistic that was out in the paper and on the news not long ago, Vermont is the 4th most expensive state for retirees to live in. We're driving people out of state to Florida and other locations in the South. They're not going just because it's nice down there. That does help, but it's because of the expense. So, you know, that's another area that I think is all part of the big picture. Randy?
I was in watching the news before I came to my meeting tonight. The state, they had an economist on the Channel 3 News talking about how there's going to be the job growth of 16,000 or so people that are on unemployment in the state of Vermont, that our unemployment rate's going to be low, but the jobs that were lost probably won't be recovered. We need to do something to help small businesses maintain or grow in this state. This past session, they voted to increase the unemployment insurance by 25%. I cannot raise my prices by 25% to cover this. We have to come up with some alternatives to help the small businesses, and I'm talking 3 to 5 employees.
They're talking the recovery to take into 2013. I know this didn't happen overnight, but as I said in years past when I've talked to you, don't tell me what's wrong. We know what's wrong. Fix it. Tell me how to fix it. That's what those guys need to do. Council, anything else? Zeke?
I have another suggestion. Greg already knows what I'm talking about. Governor Dean did a survey way back about gambling in the state of Vermont. This is when Colby wanted to come in, way down at the tip there, with, I don't know, the 16-18% unemployment. And he had concern with the lower income people gambling. Well, let me tell you right now, who pulls tickets and who plays bingo? The people that can afford it, they have a Vermont Day up in Canada. There's millions and millions of dollars that leave this state every year. And it's like, even New Hampshire is doing it now. I don't know, it'll probably be the last thing to do it, but the situation things are, you'd think that probably somebody would be looking into this and try to keep our money in the state of Vermont.
Any comments on that, Greg, or?
Well, Ziggy's absolutely right. She's mentioned this to me before on more than one occasion, although I don't remember if it was last year or the year before. I offered a bill that would at least have the discussion and never got to the table. So it's a struggle in Montpelier to have some of these gambling things because there's always that segment of the legislative population that thinks that it preys on the poorest among us. They make an argument for it. We've never been able to muster the votes to pass anything through, I guess, to make a long story short. And I wouldn't expect it was going to happen this year.
Lowell?
But along that same line, we're willing to bring in mega ball and, I mean, all the big lotteries. So what's the difference? I mean, they vote to allow those in the state. Why not a casino? It's just
You're right.
I'll just comment, coming from somewhat of a background from the world of addictions, I would not be as comfortable or ready to seek remedy for financial relief on something that I know has proven to cause economic hardship on families and those involved with problems. I do believe that there is a place that we're going to be looking at, or that I would like to look at, and you may have seen this before. In the Committee of Ways and Means, we're finding out that before our budget is set, that this legislature, when we work within that defined budget number, that prior to even that number being handed down, there are an awful lot of prearranged, predetermined, arrangements for financial support in a particular direction. You know, you might call them incentives, giveaways. You know, I don't believe that they were there by, they're not there by demise or anyone's ill will. They were probably in place in many years, offered as incentives to something. These incentives are not looked at every year. They go on reaffirmed every year. And before our state budget is set, there is up to $1 billion given out in these incentive areas. I would like us, as I believe other members have as well, to just examine what they are. There may be an awful lot of things that are there that may not make sense in this economic environment. And there may be very many in there that we should automatically reaffirm every year. But I believe that we should look at them and know what they are.
Thank you.
Back to the legalizing gambling in the state of Vermont. I understand that they're worried about people getting addicted. But this country was kind of founded on a premise that we have a right to choose our own device. That's why people smoke, that's why people drink. Why does so few get to decide for the many? Shouldn't they look out what's best for the greater good and not what one segment has?
Well, of course. But that's the legislative process.
So it would take something like a petition from several towns and/or cities or citizens throughout the state of Vermont to submit to their representatives so that we get the attention? Is that what?
That certainly wouldn't hurt, never does, but I think that's probably not a bad way to start, and I'm willing to reintroduce mine, probably with some changes, but so it's possible.
I mean, we have to think outside the box here, folks. We're $112 million in the hole. We have to look at every option that's out there.
And I understand, working in my day job, I understand where they're coming from because there is limited set of eyes that they'll focus on, and change for challenge is not working. They're not realizing the money that they're supposed to be saving. So there's just some people with some very set ways, and we talk about voting those people out, doesn't seem to happen. there's just you've got to come either up with some resolutions throughout the state or petitions or whatever to get the word to Montpelier, some way to get that message and hear it very loud. And I'm not sure who wants to start the ball rolling, but maybe that's something we ought to think about. So.
And again, Michael, I think that's why, as I first said, our communication with each other is going to be very important. Doesn't even cover it. We've got to do it. You've got to know what is happening up there and what we're thinking, and we have to know what the council and Melbourne and others are thinking in this area.
There's 8 cities in the state of Vermont that have mayors, and we held a couple meetings and tried to come up with a ad hoc group to start some unifications between those locations, the towns and the cities. And that kind of fell by the wayside, unfortunately, because I think that would have been a good avenue to develop a platform to be heard. Diane?
And in Montpelier, there's a platform that does carry your water and your message that we hear from and often ask to come in to committee room to testify on a fairly regular basis. That's there not only to bring your voice, but vice versa. And that's the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. I know that Vergennes has used them and has been a benefit from them. And that's another very good source for the council to use too. They're directly involved in almost every committee room and send out updates and reports on a regular basis. And they offer you, Mayor, an avenue to bring a great deal of muscle to Montpelier.
Hmm? Any other questions?
The only comment I have is that, as far as I'm concerned, there should be no parties, no Democrats, no Republicans. You're all up there to work to help Vermonters. You know, I don't care what party you belong to. I don't want to hear. I just want to know that you're all working together to help us.
Good point. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, I'd like to thank the representatives for coming and visiting us. Hopefully some place in April timeframe, maybe we'll invite you back and give us an update. If you have something that you feel should be brought to our attention before, drop us an email and we'll get you on the agenda.
All right, thank you. Thank
Thank
you for your
you.
time.
Next visitor, Robin.
Yes,
Good evening.
I'm Robin Scheid from Madison County Economic Development.
That's right. That's right. All right.
And I know I have limited time, so I'm not going to go through all of this, but at least thought you have something to, for you to light bedtime reading too.
Yep. Thank you.
We can get through it. I wanted
Please
to-
speak up.
Yes, sorry, I should have. I wanted to update you a bit on what Addison County Economic Development is about, what our purpose is, how we work, let you know who in Vergennes is working with us and on our board, and some other things about growing the local economy. I have some facts and figures about what's happening in Addison County, as well as some suggestions for Vergennes' role in economic development, should you choose to want to look at that through your city plan and other things. So, I took our purpose, which is on this front page, of our corporation right out of our bylaws so that you know exactly what the purpose of our corporation is. We promote sound economic development in all of Addison County with the exception of Granville and Hancock. They're covered by another economic development region. They're over towns, but we handle the rest of the towns and cities in Addison County. We coordinate public and private efforts around business expansion, retention, attraction. Really, my job is to help support businesses to grow, if they're not going to grow, to stay healthy and be strong and help businesses start. We like to help people at all stages of business from startup to mature companies. And those are the kind, I just work with all kinds of businesses that way. I don't work with every sector of the business. For example, in general, the Economic Development Corporation hasn't focused its efforts on retail and hospitality and tourism because there are other organizations that do that. So we have focused a lot on value-added industry, whether it's agribusiness or light manufacturing or professional and technical work, things like that. That tends to be the kind of focus that we have. And the tools that we are able to use as an economic development corporation limit us to doing things like that. In fact, we have a revolving loan fund, and one of the things I can't do is fund casinos or golf courses, so just to follow up on the previous one. So that and the next slide are basically what our purpose is right out of our bylaws. I wanted to let you know that on the board, we have 18 board members, 5 of whom are related to Vergennes in some way. Mel Hawley, our city manager, is on our board. Joe Parado, CEO of Country Home Products. He's actually going to be retiring from the board, but his successor is going to be somebody also from Country Home Products, assuming the members vote him in, which I expect that they will. And that's Chris Knapp, who's the CFO there. And Chris is now sitting on my loan committee as well. So Joel Melnick, who's the CEO of Nathaniel Group here in Vergennes, is on our board. Mark Bellinger, who works at Goodrich. And Darcy Tart, who works at People's United, lives here and has been chair of the Vergennes Boys and Girls Club right now. So she's pretty involved in this area as well. So we certainly have some good representation, I feel, from Vergennes, and that's really important because you're one of the important employment centers here in Addison County. So I'm glad to see that. In terms of our approach, or my approach, since I'm the one doing most of the work, economic development in general is both goal-oriented and opportunity-driven. I have a set of goals, I have a work plan for the year, and then life happens, and I have to be able to be responsive to things that happen. The classic example in this case in Addison County was the closure of the Champlain Bridge last year. That was not on my work plan, but it was clearly an issue for many, many people in Addison County and many businesses in Addison County. And I actually work with Representative Lanford from the Transportation Committee, as well as our representatives in the Senate, to get an $800,000 revolving loan fund for a period of time to help support businesses who had been impacted by the closure of the bridge. And the legislature put a deadline of applications had to be received in my office by October 31st. So we are just finishing up our last couple of loans related to this loan fund. But we have been able to make some loans to businesses who really were very clearly impacted by the closure of the bridge. As I said, I have a work plan and things I'm going to do, and then something like that happens, and I need to shift my priorities depending upon the situations that occur. Some of the core activities that I'm involved in, I help businesses obtain access to capital. I operate a couple of revolving loan funds that I get from the USDA Rural Development. And I also have relationships with bankers and with venture capitalists and with alternative lenders, and work to help businesses find what they need. Not all businesses can get everything they want. Right now I have lots of people coming in looking for grants, and there just isn't a lot of money there isn't free money to give away to people in the way that they might like that to happen. But I do work with businesses to help them find that kind of access. We provide a lot of guidance, advice, technical assistance. I've even run some training programs for businesses with the support of the Small Business Development Center. They have a business advisor located in my office. Steve Paddock is the business advisor for Addison County, and he's also the director of agriculture for the Small Business Development Center. So he works with farms and with other value-added agriculture in the county, or actually all around the state. I participate in real estate activities, anything from helping a business who might be interested in looking at Addison County as a place, to working with industrial parks. I've actually talked, Nell, not with you, but certainly with Andy Mayer about the train station. I know that's an exciting opportunity that Vergennes has, and you know, how could we participate and help in some way with that to make that a reality? So we do a lot of that kind of cooperative, collaborative work here in the county. We also are involved in workforce training. I've mentioned some of that, and I again facilitate access to state and other organizations, local organizations that provide that training. And I work with municipalities to help them with economic development planning and policy. If there are particular tax issues that may not be as supportive of businesses, you run a city, there's this balance between revenues, generating revenues and losing revenues because of the taxes that you create. I mean, the same problem that the state deals with, you deal with here at Vergennes, as well as do all cities and towns. So I do some work with municipalities, often with Adam Muji, who's the director of regional planning, to talk about that. So there are a lot of forces of change affecting the local economy. I'm not going to go through all of these. There was mention earlier, I think, by the mayor about this Great Recession and when we're going to have recovery. I was reading in The Economist magazine a few weeks ago that typically when a recession is caused by tight monetary policy, the recession lasts about 18 months. When it's a financial crisis, which is what we have had, the bounce back is typically 7 years. That means 2014. So it is going to take longer than any of us would like to have happen. It has been more of a jobless recovery, as you've mentioned. There's certainly a lot of pressure on jobs between $40,000 and $80,000. There are more jobs going to be available at the lower end, below that figure, and more jobs available higher, and not a lot in the middle. It's one of the things that we're struggling with everywhere. There's a chart that is at the bottom of this page, which I took from the 2007 economic census. These numbers are just coming out. This census is done every 5 years on the 2s and the 7s. So the next one will be 2012, but it'll be a couple more years before we hear from that. So this is the newest that we have in numbers. And this is for Addison County. I'm unable to, because the census does not break it out by city or town. I can only do it by county. I'd love to be able to give you specific for Vergennes, but I can't obtain that information from the census. So the 4 major areas that they're looking at in this particular chart is the number of businesses in operation, the sales or receipts that they have in the millions, so add 3 zeros to those numbers, what the annual payroll is in the millions, and then the number of paid employees in these establishments. This does not include people who are self-employed. So you have to have at least 1 employee to show up in these numbers. These are numbers that businesses fill out and put it in the census, collates them, and puts them together. You can go on the census website and get this information also. I've put down the top 5 industries in Addison County by payroll, and then I lumped the others under all other. So our top payroll, probably no surprise, comes from manufacturing, although it does not have the most number of establishments. It is, they have the top payroll. They also have the top in sales. Healthcare is next, then the retail trade, professional, scientific, and technical services. That also includes things like lawyers and CPAs in the professional group. So that's why that's higher than I sort of thought it was going to be. And then accommodation and food services. Those are the top 5. What's not in here, because it's in a different census, is agriculture. And agriculture, in Addison County, we are the #1 ag county in the state of Vermont based on the value of products moved on sales. And we're at about 161 billion, I guess we have to add those 3 zeros. So it's actually in second place of all of these things if you were to throw that in. We've actually had an increase in the number of farms in the last 5 years. not in dairy farms, but in the number of farms. We are diversifying the kinds of farms that we have, which also gives us a lot of opportunity for value-added agribusiness, which is an opportunity for more business and entrepreneurs and jobs that way. So that's something to think about. I just wanted to quickly mention economic development strategies. All too often people think about recruitment as the way to go, and recruitment is very rare, it's very expensive, it uses up lots of resources, and it never works out as well as everybody says it's going to when it's going to happen. That is true for Husky and many others that have come to, you pick any state and country, and that's true. Retention and expansion is another category of the development strategy. And clearly it's important to focus on what we have here and support the businesses that we have. And then the third strategy is entrepreneurship, which builds on our local assets and has been found to be sustainable over time. I wanted to document where my data comes from so you don't think I'm making this up. I think we talk way too anecdotally in general, and I believe it's important to have real data to share. So this is from Your Economy. This is all part of the Edward Lowe Foundation, who does a lot of work around entrepreneurship. Local companies, those that are either standalone businesses in the area or businesses with headquarters in the same state, created nearly 100% of job growth in the U.S. between 2006 and 2008. Of these local companies, self-employed individuals and companies with 2 to 9 employees created virtually all of these new jobs. It's the small businesses that is the backbone of our country, and in Vermont, that's what it is, and that's what we should be paying attention to. Sure, it's glamorous when a 100 employee or 500 employee company comes here if they're going to stay, but when you grow your own and you support those that you grow, that's what's sustainable. And that's proven over and over again. And so this next chart is also from this youreconomy.org from 2008, and you can see that self-employed people make up 42% of the establishments in Addison County in 2008. And then 51% of our businesses are 2 to 9 employees. And this is probably not a surprise if you think about it. And then we have very few as you go further up than that. Although you'll see that the stage 2 companies, 10 to 99 employees, have quite a number of jobs or employees with 4,100 in them. They make up 35% of the jobs, even though they're only 6.5% of the number of businesses. And we know we have, this does not include nonprofits. So Middlebury College is the largest employer in Addison County, but it won't show up on here. That's a whole other place. And then the other thing that doesn't show up, and we know we have a stage 4 company with 500 or more employees in the form of Goodrich here in Vergennes. But when these numbers are collected, if there's confidentiality is what is key with the U.S. Census and these other organizations, so that if you could identify, if the number is so small that you could identify who the company is, they don't give you that information. So sometimes they can aggregate things, so at the state level we could look at that, but at a county level where you can identify a specific company, they won't give you that information. So some of that is up to you. So the rest of this is really talking about this entrepreneurship and this concept of economic gardening, which is not a term I've made up. It was used first by Littleton, Colorado. It started in 1989. Over a 15-year period, they increased the number of jobs by net new jobs to nearly 11,000 net new jobs, and tripled their revenues from more than tripled, from 6-point-something million to about 22 million, with no incentives, no tax breaks, nothing like that. They just did it by doing this whole economic gardening thing, which was to really focus on supporting and growing their own businesses in their community. And so that's really what the rest of this is talking about, is what are the elements of economic gardening and what can Vergennes do. And the main thing Vergennes can do is create conditions that support economic gardening and encourage entrepreneurship and business growth at a scale that's appropriate for a community. And so you can think about things like what do we offer in the way of information, GIS services? What information do we have if a business comes to ask about permitting and licensing and certificates? Is it easy? Is it complicated? Do they have to talk to 25 people before they get the answer? Are there things that can be pre-permitted? Are there streamlining things you can do? You know, questions to ask yourself. You may be doing all of it, and that's great, but those are the kinds of things that can really help a business know that it's being supported in your community. The infrastructure that you have becomes really important as well. I love that you're supporting rail and you're working with this train station. That sends a message to communities. I mean, people also want to move here. If Goodrich is having trouble hiring people, or we want to make it as inviting and welcoming as possible for people to move their young families here so they can live here and raise their families. And so what's the lifestyle like? What's it like to live here? What's it like to raise a family? What are the schools like? What's the transportation? Can my kids walk downtown? Can they ride their bikes, or isn't it safe to do that? Those kinds of things around physical infrastructure become really important. Also, businesses themselves, are there water and sewer? Is there enough of that for businesses? I've talked a little bit about the quality of life infrastructure. I know the Bixby Library is a pretty popular place and has done amazing things. This is the Vergennes Opera House. It's been really fun to watch Vergennes just come alive and become such a vital community over the last 15 years, and the changes that have occurred here that have made this a really pretty dynamic and fun place to be. So you've got a lot going for you. I think that, you know, leveraging those assets that you've got, if you've got them, is really important. So those are really the main things. And connections is the other part. Entrepreneurs and businesses need to know who they can talk to, who can help them with them. So certainly I'm a resource at Addison County Economic Development, the Small Business Development Center that's in my office, the Chamber of Commerce, the Tech Center. You have your local downtown organization, the
Vergennes Partnership.
Vergennes Partnership. The state can help, or I can be the doorway to other places around the state as well. So I think the more that we can all work together, that's why I use the phrase "no wrong door." They should be able, a business or somebody interested in starting a business should be able to come to any of us and get directed to the help they need, which may just be you call me and ask me how I can to take over and support the business and help shepherd them along to give them what they need. But it really takes all of us to make this work. And Vergennes is a great place to be, and so I would think that this kind of approach would be really helpful to supporting businesses.
Does anyone have any questions of Robin?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is agriculture not included in your statistics?
Agriculture comes from a completely different census. So where I got these numbers didn't include agriculture. I actually went to a third place. I may even have something I could leave.
It just doesn't make sense to me that if we're the largest agricultural county in the state, that the idea of economic development doesn't include promoting and encouraging agriculture.
One of our goals is to, in my purpose, is to encourage and help the agribusiness community. And so we do that. And I'm working with some value-added agriculture. I don't work directly with farmers directly in most cases. There are other organizations that do that. So there's no need for, I mean, I'm one person, and if there's other resources they have who are experts in that, that's great. But I'm working with value-added agriculture, so that could be, cheese products or, all those kinds of things. And I've done some things with a collaborative of Addison County Food Collaborative to get them a planning grant so that they could help put together some kind of a strategic plan around the whole local food system. So there's a lot of work that is being done around that. I do have a profile I had put together for something else I had to do, which I'd be happy to leave with you, where I actually put in, it's an Addison County profile, but it includes things like the number of farms and putting agriculture in all of this. So I'm happy to leave this with you if you want to.
Any other questions? Here. Robin, thank you very much. That was very informational,
Great.
and
Thanks, I
hopefully we
enjoyed coming,
can,
and I'm happy to come anytime.
thank you.
Thanks, Robin.
Next item on the agenda is Moonlight Lady. Michael.
Well, I'd like to thank Robin. This couldn't be, I sat here and listened to what she was talking about, and it was, you made my case for me. When she used the phrase, create conditions for economic gardening, I don't know if you know who I am or what we do. We have the overnight cruise boat, that, the Moonlight Lady, and we're trying to dock in Vergennes, because we think Vergennes is the most beautiful dock of all Lake Champlain. And what you just said, I was listening to it, and that sometimes these representatives, I wish they were here, and they would recognize, this gentleman recognizes the value of agriculture, tourism is, I don't know where the numbers come in, they flip-flop along, depending. People talk about jobs, they talk about taxes that are collected based on what we advertise, but we're trying to come back to Vergennes, and last year we ended up, we came approached the city council. I see it looks like everybody is here from last year, and we ended up going over to Westport, New York, and we're a sales and marketing focused company. Our first year, we were able to get the Boston Globe to do a story on it, full page in the Boston Globe about Vergennes. We got the Washington Post with a readership of 800 story on Moonlight Lady. We were in Westport. Westport got all the attention, not Vergennes. We lost that readership of being able to hire Vermont. I want to be in Vermont, and what you were saying, Robin, it really ties into what we're trying to do is keep jobs and our money right here in Vermont. And our people were getting off and going to Westport. So what I would like to do is ask the council to reconsider. I know you were going to study it, what to do with your municipal dock. I guess I'm putting a little pressure on the changing, evolving landscape of Vergennes because we want to come in here commercially. So we're back here knocking on your door again to see if, I don't know, I don't follow your local politics, but I know you've still got the most beautiful place on the lake to dock. And we'd like to come here next year if we could. And I don't know if you had a chance to resolve your concerns about us or repositioning your docking system.
Well, the committee that was supposed to be working on documentation hasn't completed their project yet. They've been extremely busy on other things, and that hasn't been completed. But I would like to open it up for discussion with the council about any concerns or changes in our venue that we allow them in. I know one of the things that we were in hopes to do and didn't happen last year, and I still feel that we need to expand our docks, whether we get something on paper or not. I still feel that needs to grow, maybe beyond what we talked about last year. We've got the space to do it. We won't have some of the services available as far as power to handle a big expansion, but things really didn't kick off until middle of July this last year, and I met to get a hold of my brother to find out what the numbers were, and I didn't do it. I fell short. But I will try to, I'll make a note and have them for the the next meeting. So I'll open it up to the council for discussion. Chris?
I don't mind starting. Mike, what our concerns are is, obviously, we have 4 major events at the falls. What the issue is your big boat coming in, why those big events are taking place. I don't have an issue of your boat coming in any other time except for these events. And of course, the blues and the oranges are when they are. So that's, I mean, like our Vergennes Day, our French Heritage Day, that brings in a lot of people. And your boat takes up a lot of dockage space. So that means our boaters have, you know, have no place to go and to come uptown to these events. So that's where our concerns were, that's where our concerns are, how it affects the number of small boats that come up the river.
Randy?
One of my other concerns is too that you mentioned that you offloaded your passengers at Crown Point. In the past, we hadn't seen that your passengers have gotten off the boat, they've stayed on. You've come in, you've tied up, taken up dock space, you've used our power and water, and then turned around and left, with nobody leaving the boat to take advantage of our restaurants and stuff. And that is a hang-up for me. I mean, if it was the fact that you were bringing your guest in and they were offloading and they were using our local establishments, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but I have not seen that.
Our volume, the first year we carried for a whole season, we carried 74 people. And that was through the other places we called on. The second year we carried 164, I think it was. Again, scattered about. So probably in the total time that we've come, in the 2 years that we came here, we carried maybe 100, a little bit more, maybe 125, I'm a little guessing here on that. Actually, people came to Vergennes out of being here maybe 25 times. So I'm not sure if it would be, if you would see like a cruise ship, if you've ever seen a cruise ship where there's 2,000, you can see it. I know what you say about it, because it's important, because we want the people to come into town. They do get off the boat and immediately go walking. Now we are older. Our customer would be 50 and up. It would be probably our standard customer. Some of them have mobility problems, and we have to pay attention to that. But a good fair amount of them are very active and able to move. We don't track them, but I do know when the boat docks, boom, they're gone. Where they go, I don't know.
No, but it's true that you feed their evening meal and their morning meal on the boat.
They do eat on board the boat, exactly. That's the way it works with the cruise. I know that was a big concern last year. I do know that we do bring 16 people in it. And Christine, your concern was, I would say that we take up 2 sailboats worth of dock, as I've seen them dock down there before. Sailboats can hold 5, 6 people, depending how bigger they are, the more they can carry. So it's 12 people that are coming up here. We can carry 16, so it could be proportionally about the same amount of people on a per night basis that are able to come up here. Again, a lot of boaters are very self-sufficient. They load up their coolers, their refrigerators, and stock goods, and they're not necessarily coming up. I see it at the boathouse all the time in Burlington, in the Spirit of Ethan Allen. They do go into town, but how much they spend, I always think boaters are very self-sufficient and tend to stay close to their boat where they're eating, recreating. But they do go into town, they shop. There's no doubt about it. I've seen the bags come back, because I'm on the Business Association, Burlington Business Association. We're trying to get that connection to Church Street so we can see them carry the bags back. We're doing everything we can to get the shuttle to come down and carry the boaters up there. So your concern is very important. I understand it, because it's what we're all about, to develop that economic growth and that linkage between the tourist or the visitor to go into our shops and spend money. Ours, I think, in the town of Vergennes so far has been very almost invisible because we don't have a mass.
I know from one particular business, liquor store, the guy sets deliveries up down to a lot of the boats. So, I mean, not just that. I know that there's some other businesses that have talked to me. I go around and visit wintertime to see how they're doing, how they're surviving the winter. I go down through the summertime and visit all the stores to see what the action is. And I know that we are getting boaters in. We've got a new store which we believe we'll be having a grand opening on Holiday Stroll. It's not official yet. I think that's going to have a big impact on the boating, or the boaters are going to use that quite a bit as well. So we really need to make a move here. I know Christine has brought up the point of a set of dates. One of the issues is our fishing derby. It's designed for, we're not trying to block people out, but it is designed for the use. And we have as many as close to 300 kids lining the bank of the river. And so if there was a way to let the water flow and not let the traffic come, those particular things, that is also a big income to the city. It would be nice. I shouldn't have said that on camera, I bet, but somehow they coexist to a point, and there are some very welcoming boaters that actually let the kids get on their boats and fish off their boats. So taking up a large dock space does interfere with that on that particular occasion. The other ones, the other events, I feel that my opinion is it'd be worth a while to venture a year and test the waters, no pun intended. Diane took a pun on the railroad, so I figured, no. So it might be worth the councils to allow this to happen for a year. Just ask that they try to refrain from the junior fishing derby weekend.
What day is that?
It is the
24th and the 26th of June.
We only be here, well, we're only scheduled one night, that 25th. I can change that.
And just test the waters, see how it works. Nothing ventured, nothing game, and
Michael, could I throw out one more date?
I know that, yes, you can. Go ahead.
The French Heritage, because there is a lot of Canadians.
Okay, and the 16th of July. It actually would be the 15th and the 16th.
We're not here on the 16th. The
Okay.
15th. We are now, let me just ask, I don't know the timing of your event. We arrive at 5:30 and are gone between 6:30 and 7 in the morning.
That actually, that on the 15th, which is a Friday night, they have a supper up here, and a lot of Canadians come in and from not only by boat, but by other means of transportation. And they come to a meal here at the Opera House, and then the next day, the whole day is an event of different things that happen in the park and throughout the city. So that whole, those 2 days are really, Chris brings up a good point. That would be another
Vergennes Day,
point.
too.
So that's during the construction holiday, that's what you've got. I'm just trying to think that July, that's the 2 weeks that the Canadians are off, so it ties to your holiday, your festival. Those are no problem, I
I don't think
could
Vergennes is.
go somewhere else for those 2 days.
Like I said, I think, you know, if we meet in the middle here a little bit, ask for those days, and just, and maybe that'll give the committee an opportunity to put together, you talked about a survey and build into it as to how they arrived and whatever. So be more than happy to help with that survey if you'd like. So
Mike, can you
Go for it.
clarify the orange, please? I understand the blue. The blue is the 2 days, 1 night. And so when you see this blue, which is half a day Saturday, half a day Sunday, what you're saying is you arrive at 5 o'clock at night, 5 o'clock in the evening,
Yep.
and you leave at 7 o'clock in the morning.
We have to be back in Burlington at 10:15.
Okay, all right. You know, because, you know, one of the things has always been troublesome is the whole reserving, because, you know, I really wish that there was, I don't want somebody not at the dock for more than 90 seconds in my world, all right? So, you know, what's unfortunate sometimes is we end up feeling as if we have to reserve 60 feet of dock for you for a long time in advance of your arrival, and potentially turn people away when they actually might only want to be here for the afternoon to get supplies and go. So I know in the past we end up, I don't know exactly what time you called the Public Works Garage to put that out, but anyway, we put that out and close it. So anyway, I just don't know if that's possible. So when you see the light blue here, this is 5 to 7 in the morning. The orange, I should have wrote you back.
Every one of them is the same.
Well, the thing is,
It's just a different tour, but if they all come in here because we've left Burlington at 1 o'clock, and then we get here at 5:30.
right, but the point is that the orange is actually covering half day, full day, half day, and you're not staying.
We're only here one night.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I want to know which night are you talking
First
about?
night. In an orange.
So anytime you see an orange, you're talking about the first half. You got a half day, full day, half day is the way that he's showing on the calendar.
Right.
Even though that orange is sitting there, yeah, I'm trying to help you, Mike, all right? It really is only the first half of that orange, just so that everybody knows. It's not it's not the whole 3-day period.
So it'd be for the July one, you got the 9th, 10th, and 11th, so it would be the 9th, you'd come in the evening.
Right.
Which is a Saturday, go out on a Sunday.
Well, Sunday is 7 in the morning.
Right.
Yeah.
So you only just take the first half of all of those little orange tubes. That's when
Okay.
they're there.
And so, but that would mean they'd come back in on the 11th?
That's correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
And go out on the 12th?
Morning of the 12th. So
And
the
then they'd
12th
be
is free.
back in on the
13th.
13th and go out on the 14th.
Right.
And they'd come in on the 15th, which we're asking not, and be out on the 16th, so we're asking not. But then you get a little one mark on the 17th, which is,
17th, we're not, we leave at 7 o'clock in the morning. Canada has become a fantastic market for us. People love the locks and going through up to Montreal. So we've shifted a lot of our energies up there.
oh, good.
So I think if I understand the dark blue, I don't know if this calendar is looking all that different than it was a year ago, but I think, other than maybe one of those weeks in June, I think that the city council was fine with the dark blue. I mean, because there really isn't the demand down there, Mike, in May.
Correct.
In the first half of June. So dark blue is fine, all right, however the thing circles. And in June, I know last year we had a long list, right, Joan? We could have brought that. There was a pretty lengthy list, so that's what I'm trying to get to. So June, there actually is a group that comes here on LCI that actually can work around them. You know, it's but that 25th, 6th, if you will, that would be out. That's what I think the consensus is. And then July 16th, Christine, is that what?
July 15th.
15, 16, so
16.
that little section right there is out.
Yep,
And did somebody say Vergennes Day?
Randy did.
Vergennes,
I don't think we're affected by then. People are, don't you think?
You get a lot of, you do get a lot of voters, but I think,
Let's
again, if we can
calm down at that.
expand our dockage, I think this will help achieve some of this.
well, if you wouldn't mind, if they're gonna be allowed to be there on Vergennes Day, it'd be nice if they marketed the day for us.
Okay.
So that it'd be,
5:30 at night, right?
what's that?
On Vergennes Day.
Right.
It's Saturday night.
Yeah.
Vergennes Day's basically done.
Done, right.
What happens if there's a bunch of boats there? Then we're gonna have to ask them to leave?
Well, that's.
That's what we have to take in.
That's the problem.
Well, the other thing too, Andy, take,
And maybe Mr. Shea can address this, what's the economic benefit to letting some of these slips get tied up between 5 o'clock on Saturday night and 7 o'clock on Sunday morning, when there's nothing open downtown?
There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is we have to reserve them. We have to reserve them well in advance of that.
Theoretically, another sailboat could come in and stay longer if both shops were open.
Right.
Theoretically, is my question. I'm just, there may be some
But
benefit.
the restaurants are open till 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Well,
at
but
night.
he's feeding. The
Oh,
restaurants
you're right,
are
he's
open.
feeding his, right.
But I'm saying shops aren't open Saturday night. So
No.
I'm just wondering, where's the economic benefit
Right.
to tying up 60 foot of dockage on a Saturday night and preventing boats from coming in, as Mel was saying, longer before?
and using Shaw's and/or the Little City Market and/or
Well, it could certainly
hopefully
be
the new bakery.
But they're being fed, so I'm
Yeah.
just not seeing
Yeah.
where the economic benefit to the Saturday night shops are.
It's little to none for us.
Well,
In a
we never want to have we get calls all the time at City Hall wondering, is there any space at the dock? As if Joan and I have binoculars that we can look down there and do it. We get calls
put your
all the
camera in.
time, all right? Basically the goal really is to never have a boater drive 7 miles down that river to find a sign that says turn around and go back. There's the economic harm, and it's a huge harm, because not only do you lose that immediate business, that boater will probably never take that trip again, all right? So, to me, it is a big harm, all right? Relative to Vergennes Day, I think the season's, I don't think that the demand is really there.
This year, yes. Last year, no. Last year, they kept coming right into September. I don't know why. But our
Yeah, so I
numbers-
think, Mike, your idea of trying it and making a point to take a look at the impact on Vergennes Day for a year, allow it to happen, see if it's there could be 100 feet of dock down there totally available, and it's not really an issue. But, keep in mind that, we have, 300 feet of dockage down there. However, only a third of it has access to water and electricity, all right? And we're talking about, this is prime real estate for us that Mike needs, because he needs to tie up to the electricity, right? I mean, you have a 50 amp circuit down there. I mean, that's what you do. You recharge your boat, and I'm sure you refill there. So, it's really it'd be one thing if he was looking for 60 feet with no power, it's not a
an
big
issue.
deal, all right? But we're talking about the prime part of the
Real
marina.
estate.
I know in the past, somebody last year raised a question, and your economic impact is certainly important. It's tying right over here to Robin's discussion. We've offered to pay, but you have no mechanism in your rules to pay. So that there would be willing to, because we are consuming power. I'm not saying that we're not willing to pay. I'm not coming here because your system doesn't have it set up to pay. I'd be willing to pay to come here, so that you do realize some offsetting revenue for, I know like anything, there's a cost for those docks, there's a cost for that electricity.
The whole pay issue gets really complicated and about, we're a municipality, we're subject to antitrust, and we need to be real careful about running a fee-for-service marina when there's fee-for-service marinas in other parts of the state, all right? So there's always a little bit of a gray area, to us, the way that we treat this, yes, the taxpayers are paying some dollars, but it really isn't any different than a tennis court. You want to go play tennis, you go play. There's no fee. So we're running a recreation facility, all right? And therefore, it's open to the public. They come here, there's no fee. I don't know that I suppose anybody can bring a suit against anybody, but there are marinas out there that feel that there are privately owned marinas out there feeling that they're competing with our marina, all right? And one of the things is that if we leap into the charging business here, I think that we probably open ourselves up more to that.
Creative and say Ask them to make a donation to the Parks Department or the fire department.
And that's where
Or
we wanted
don't have to
the,
ask them, they could offer to make a
yeah,
donation to the park.
and that's where we wanted to have the committee have that discussion to figure out, because we talked about the possibility of putting donation boxes or envelopes down there with a securable type device, so that those that do, because several boaters have said, you know, why aren't you guys charging, you know, like $10 a night? It's like,
You know, that being aside, I guess I sort of missing the point of
Hey,
this
Robin.
conversation when,
Right.
to me, it's like, when a tour wants to come to a city, I just don't understand why a city would be unwelcoming to bringing people in and show, you know, I mean, even if it's the falls.
and again, if he brings them in, they might come back another time.
Sure,
Right.
yeah.
It's not, it's instant gratification is what I'm talking. When a bus tour lands at Kennedy Brothers, is a direct, it's a quantifiable benefit.
It is, but they closed the doors today from what you're telling me.
Yeah, right, but in the past, it was a quantifiable dollar amount. They would, you know, even if it was to use the restrooms, where they might get a cup of coffee or whatever. In Mike's, I have nothing against you, Mike, it's just, the fact is that I don't see a quantifiable dollar amount coming into this community. You have 16 passengers at one time?
We don't have a quantifiable dollar amount for the recreational boaters that come in
You
either.
know,
No.
you know.
But if they might eat on their boat, but they do shop at our stores. And he's coming, no offense, they're coming in at 5:30. Most of our downtown businesses are closed.
There's some things that are not financially recognized. There's other things beyond the financial world that you need to think about, is the selling of Vergennes itself. And I think that's where it's hard to, again, quantify a dollar and a cent to it, but what are we all about? We are all about money and how, you know, we don't want to get greedy, but we want to sell our city as a warm and pleasant place to come and visit.
I certainly agree with the mayor on this point, and on the other hand, I think the city's image is very important, both in terms of economics. I mean, certainly in the long run, that's kind of, we're all, you know, that's what we're here about for the most part. The city's image is such that, you know, that we're not welcoming to this type of service. I just think it does damage to us.
I think with Robin's point here and the legislator or the representative, that we have to think outside the box and try anything that may bring people into our city. Now,
I think that's what we are doing. I mean, I hate to see people come up 7 miles
Mm-hmm.
and have to turn around and go down, and I'll tell you, all they have to do is get on that microphone to other boaters. You know, I mean.
Understand, but I think that's where we need to look at expanding our docks, as we've talked about, make that happen this coming year, and see where we can do. You've got a resident that lives right adjacent to our dock, and he is constantly letting people stay on his dock when the docks are full. And they're doubling up, and that's the thing. If boaters travel together, they'll rack up. If they don't, then there's a less of a tendency to have a stranger on your outboard side to dock up with you.
Are we gonna be putting electricity and everything out there too? Well, then see now.
No, any additional? No.
Yeah.
No.
So now we're taking some prime spots away.
No, I
People that hooks
understand.
up to electricity that aren't gonna be able to. And like you say, they, you know,
And-
go along with each other.
And again, some of those people realize that when they come up, because they take the available dockage, and they park there, and they don't complain. And more this last year, I noticed some people did rack up out in the basin. They actually dropped anchor, so that's a good thing.
I'm not a boater, but for those of you that are, is this situation any different from any other dockage in any other town? Do they have unlimited services and unlimited dockage available? Anytime a boater comes into an area to dock, it wouldn't seem to me there was not necessarily a guarantee that they can stay there.
We're kind of unique, Joe, in that we don't charge. Everywhere else you're going to go on the lake, you're going to pay a fee to pull into a dock. Burlington, you pay.
Giving away something of value
Oh, yeah.
that you could charge for. And again, I don't know the legals of it, but somehow Burlington does it. They're running a municipal marina facility. I don't know all the parameters of it, but this is prime. You got location, location, location. Better than many, many other places. That's why they're coming here. It's not because it's free. It's gorgeous. There's nothing. We go all over the lake for you, Joe, that's not a boater. This is unbelievable on the lake. I mean, people sit there with their mouth hanging open. They can't believe what's here on Lake Champlain. So you have something that is, I don't know if any of you are boaters, you've got something very spectacular here. You know, it's not the Niagara Falls, but it's something very special. And there's room to capitalize on it. I know it's money for the infrastructure, I understand.
There's not only beauty, there's history, there's a multitude of things there. And as residents of the city and the state, we just don't realize our wealth that we have here before us. You do, you have people that just, I've got emails from around the world, I would say, you know, just Canada and whatnot, on how pleasant and how warm and inviting that the city is and the dockage. They really appreciate what the city offers. So I think the council, it's up to the decision's up to the council. I'd actually, Joe, did you have some time?
Well, I was gonna offer a motion.
Please do.
Well, I'd like to offer a motion that we accept this schedule, accepting the dates that we discussed, the 15th and 16th of July, and what are the dates of the fishing derby?
24th through the
24th to 26th, through the 26th of June.
I have a motion. Can I have a second?
I will second.
I'll open it up for further discussion.
So we're talking about every weekend except for the ones we just talked about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
3-2. I only have to vote in a tie.
Was it 4-2?
1, 2, 3 to 2.
Yeah, you need to vote, yeah. Because you have to have a majority of the board.
I'll vote in favor. It passed with those specific dates that we asked you to make other arrangements. Randy.
If there's any concerns, Mel calls, I mean, I don't want to be intrusive, I don't want to be
Totally
pushing our weight
understand.
around or anything like that. Just people to come here, enjoy themselves. If we're doing something wrong, speak up, please. Respond.
Okay, and the only thing that we would ask, see if there's a way to market those amenities that aren't on your boat, and if you have some suggestions, either we'll get in touch with Mel, and we now have a taxi in the city that is available that can take boaters to locations that they want to go. It doesn't have to be within the city. If they want to go to Basin Harbor or Dakin Farm or someplace else, there's those, you know, the taxi will take you where you want to go. So, I mean, we are we're the center of the hub, and we need to all come together here in the economic situation that we are.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mike, you have a good evening, sir. All right, we have had the warrants gone around, signed.
Yeah, Joan, do you have the revised warrant showing that, maybe it's in the top of the bills?
Yeah.
Is there a warrant on the top of the bills?
Oh,
Okay.
You signed it? And that's the only one that needs to be signed?
Yeah.
Okay. I would ask for a motion, on the minutes of the city council, October 26th. Lowell made the motion. Have a second?
I'll second it, Michael.
Chris will second it. Omission errors, corrections, anybody?
I pointed it out to Joan already.
And it was, so that,
First page, 2010, has just too many ones
oh, a
in
typo.
there. Towards the bottom, fifth
Yep.
sentence up.
Okay, with that one correction, do we have a motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Budget?
Yeah, Mike, I obviously gave a pretty extensive report at last meeting on it, so I won't do a repeat of that. And let me just let you know, I think Joan has already either started doing this or is soon going to be doing this. You know, in the month of November is when we go through and do our second quarter allocations, various set-aside funds get, I don't think they're in here, so what will happen in this
No.
budget here that went
Yeah.
out on Friday? Okay. So the point is that next month, when you meet on December 14th, you really will have something very close to a half year's worth of information. So that'll be the number that we'll have in our head. So I don't have anything new. I will talk a little bit more about sewer when you get down to item 8D.
Okay. All right, excuse me. Committee reports? Joe, you had a full meeting?
We called a full meeting that unfortunately I was not able to attend.
It's okay. Yeah, we had our,
I
it's
was out
had a great time.
delivering a calf at the mayor's son-in-law, so I did a good excuse.
yeah, Joan joined us, the meeting. Joe wasn't able to make it, but everybody else was. Kim Palmer was there. Linda was there. Actually, Roland couldn't make it either. Roland had to go back in for hip surgery. He says he's going to be fine come May, to return to that job. So Joan was there, and we went through a lot of finances, and this is really the last meeting. We released Kitty Oxholm at that meeting. The transition is done. I've shared a lot of the numbers with you. The only new news that we have is that the pump, it either has been ordered or is about to be ordered. That pump and installation, from a budget standpoint, is going to cost about $6,000. This graded school district has $800 and some odd left over in that fund. We will be applying for a Efficiency Vermont grant, which, based on the paperwork, was only $100, but 100, all you need to do is mail a copy of the bill, and they send you a check for $100. So we'll do that. So take $1,000 off that bill. So that is going to cost us about $5,000, which represents about half of the surplus that we had at the end of the year. We went through all of the various rate things, Joe, and don't really see any need to do anything other than to change that rate as it relates to Waltham and Waltham and Panton. So that'll come back to we'll get that in memo form, obviously before the pool opens sometime March or April, Mike. So, like I say, this whole transition of thinking you're gonna have all kinds of change really wasn't really a big change, other than, the budget being run out of here and the money being worked out of here. Joan is gonna make a few little changes on the cash receipt side, after having gone through a year, to make that process be a little bit easier, less cumbersome. I reported before about the fact that, yes, we sell dog licenses and certified copies, but we're really about billing out $3 million and collecting taxes and sewer. And, running the pool is a little bit like running the movie theater. They don't bring us change any longer, but it is, our system doesn't lend itself easily to small transactions, but we can't do anything about that. And the data's great. It just takes a little longer for us to enter. So I think we're in good shape, Joe, going in to next year. a lot of it's weather driven, as you know. When it's hot, people use the pool, and as I mentioned before, what really is critical is that continued success of the swim team. The numbers change drastically. If that swim team were to suddenly drop from 113 down to 80 people, the numbers really change. The other thing is lessons is a huge program for us. It's amazing. About a third of the revenue of that pool comes in from lessons. So, obviously, that part of the program, those things, and now that we have a year's worth of data, really shows how important that we have a good lesson program, how important we have a swim team, a good sized swim team. And you wonder, Joe, if that isn't, why some of those other towns that, that you investigated, that their numbers were so different from ours. And my guess is that it's those two things that make a big difference. But also we have Roland, so.
Okay. Surrounding towns, Ziggy, anything going on? Quiet?
I guess so. I mean, there's not quiet among themselves, but it's quiet for us. What I've been hearing, so. I stay out.
Nothing that affects us, though.
That's right, nothing that affects us.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that if we needed to visit anybody, I was in hopes to get
one of the things,
around, but I haven't.
Mike, Diane brought up about, sharing equipment and whatever, and we actually do have a very informal arrangement with the town of Panton. We only have a very short section of gravel road, which is out on Hopkins Road, and obviously we don't own a grader, and so what we do, we actually trade Patrick Crowley to work for Panton a few days to offset use of the grader down on Panton. We don't get into a big bureaucratic exercise, we just do it, all right?
And it's like the cedar that we own.
Oh, the cedar, yeah, that was something that a number of towns own. We store it.
Yeah.
There's some things that do work, and some things don't. But those are two good examples of towns cooperating. Not everybody owning a $5,000 cedar. That doesn't make any sense.
Sounds good. Randy, seniors or shoveling, heard anything from Northland?
No, I've got to follow up with Tony Stanings and Moore and Mr. Zender to get that program back on track. It's gotten kind of derailed a little bit at the moment.
Okay.
And nothing to report for the seniors.
Okay, thank you. Chris, fantastic job on the farmer's market. They're having a meeting coming up.
Thursday night, I have another meeting that I have to go to, but I asked Rhonda to email me with anything that she wants to share as end of season results. So.
I'm talking with Linda about a yard sale in the winter, sometime February, March. It looks like it may be in March here at and it might be good for
good idea.
The farmer's market to, if there's anything available at that time, to take up some space here.
Yep.
So I'll see if my wife is going to that meeting. She got an invite. If she does, I'll have her bring that information, or I'll send Rhonda an email.
Yep.
So, good, excellent. Too early for fishing, right? Okay. No, not really. Anytime is a good time for fishing. Public comment? Nothing tonight, Andy? Old business, Boys and Girls Club.
I've not been in touch with Tim, but I will make a point to call him, Mike, in the next day or two, and because obviously the leaves have fallen off the trees. And as I mentioned in my memo, I have brought Don Selby from Country Home Products, their product testing division, over to the site to do whatever work they feel they can do, you know, if it's doing a little bit of brush hogging or removing some of the vines or whatever, because you really can't get to the property. It's just, the whole access road is totally grown in. So I don't know if Don has been up there yet, but I brought him there and,
He
gave
must
him-
have, because I had a taxpayer asking me that yesterday.
Yeah,
Said
I
they'd
knew
all.
that you hadn't read your packet, Joan, so.
Oh, and he said that they had cleared all through, and I said, oh.
Yeah. So anyway, I gave him a survey, the survey of the property. I
Yeah.
gave him a copy of our aerial photos and tried to educate him and to do not get on Mr. Fuller's property, whatever you do. You know, so, you know, if you happen to go over onto the high school land, that's probably okay, but don't go on Mr. Fuller's property. So anyway, so that has to be what's going on, Joan,
Yeah.
that they're, I'm not sure who was at the office, but.
Mr. Field.
Mr. Field, okay. So anyway, that's what's going on.
Mike.
Mike, yes.
And obviously, the more, you know, the more that I can get Don Selby's crew over there to kind of clear it out, the cheaper it's gonna cost us to do the topo. So obviously, there is a motive to my madness, so. And again, I really do hope that we can stay on track here, Mike, and get this to the board on the December 14th meeting. I'll make that clear to Tim tomorrow.
Good. Okay, rewrite of the ordinance of control of dogs and wolf hybrids.
Yeah, one of the things, Joan, we have cleaned this all up. Joan and I spent a little bit of time there last week going through this, and one of the things, just as a reminder, you know, your old ordinance had a number of sections in there about vicious dogs and, you know, dogs, you know, a dog that bites somebody and how it works and how you get fined. And Joan and I, you know, did some research and actually relative to vicious dogs and dogs that bite somebody, there's a statute that absolutely covers that. And there's a very clear procedure as to what happens when there is a vicious dog and a dog bite. Now, a municipality can have their own ordinance relative to vicious dogs and the like. However, that kind of an ordinance by law requires a vote of a vote by the citizens, all right? So one of the things is that your old ordinance had that section in there about vicious dogs, and I don't know that it ever got approved by the voters. So basically, you know, the law, I'm happy to give you a copy of the law. The law is fine already, you know, about the process that has to go through for that. So so that's already covered in elsewhere. So we have basically kind of stripped this down a little bit, you know, so that we are, and yes, you know, maybe some of this area might belong in the noise ordinance, or some of it might belong in the nuisance ordinance. When people register their dogs, you know, lots of times Joan and Melissa will give people a copy of the dog ordinance, all right? So in this instance, even though there's items in here that might be noise related or nuisance related, they all relate to dogs. And it's just, to me, it's a little easier for the dog owner to give them all the rules right out of the gate, as opposed to thinking they gotta go in two different directions. The other change, I caught Joan at just a little bit of a weak moment here. You know, at the last meeting, she was saying, charge them $50 and that's what the fine is, all right? Well, you know, actually, the way that it works is, to be clear, we pay the dog catcher $25 per dog. That's the only way the dog catcher gets paid. Obviously, we have workers' compensation and Social Security on top of that. The pound, you know, charges us a per diem, you know, and they require the application of Frontline. And of course, under the new system, and they've actually worked out a nice protocol, a sheet that they handle over there. And so basically, you can see here that this fee, which in an earlier version you saw was 50. When Joan took the 50 and added the $27 and added the $14 or $18 for Frontline,
And rabies shots and,
you know, I
it's
think she thought that
registering the dog.
was
I mean,
getting
they were getting
up there
to
a little bit.
$100.
And, you know, really, you know, this really should never be a revenue source. I mean, we just need to get our money back, all right? You know, somebody's dog got loose, we have a dog catcher, we need to pay the dog catcher, we need to pay the pound, and the dog owner needs to pay the fees. You know, this isn't, we don't need to
And
make
it's
money.
all about public safety. We need to be guaranteed those dogs have rabies shots, because the ones that get caught are the ones that are never registered. The majority are not registered. And
So I'm not gonna say that we have this thing perfect. If anybody sees something in here that they'd like tweaked, it's fine. But two things. One is we'd like to get the city council to adopt that. The way that it works, you just adopt it, we post it, it becomes the law on day 40 or day 41, because any ordinance that you pass is subject to a petition. The other thing that we would like you to do is to also allow us to set the fee for the last offender at these rates, so that that this fee be retroactive to whatever the date of that last offense,
Yeah.
for the people to get out of the $500 fine that they're.
September 11th,
Right.
the 2 dogs that
Yeah.
got picked up in one weekend like 5 times.
A question, section 8, unclaimed dogs, pets. The very end, purpose of disposition. This, could be anything from euthanized up to give to the
Yep,
Humane Society.
absolutely, right, yeah. Disposition doesn't mean death, and I
You-
think
you-
the
you okay
old
with that?
ordinance, I think, told us we could.
I know Diane last time she was not into euthanizing anything, so I don't know what your positions are.
No, the wording is fine with me.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other comments on any portion of this? Well, we'll get into it as discussion. I'll ask for a motion to pass this with those stipulations of the fee. Randy, or did you have a comment?
No,
first?
make said motion.
Okay. Randy made the motion, Chris seconded it with the stipulation of going
Retro.
back prior to, or go back to September 11th. Now, further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. City managers report?
Mike, the only one thing I just want to bring up, just so that you know, I've been working with the library and Elizabeth Reedy, and obviously Elizabeth has been working with this John Graham shelter, and she actually stepped forward to help the library out on a project that they really are interested in, and Elizabeth and I have worked together, and we have applied for what's called a eVermont grant, which is a program to bring broadband to public facilities, I'm going to say. And let me just tell you that what I don't know is I really don't know how much money we're talking about, and so therefore I don't know what we can do. I mean, if it's a huge amount of money, I mean, it could provide funds to, I know that the library is really anxious to get broadband to that facility, all right? I know that the high school is interested in having greater capability. Job Corps may be interested. So, you know, you've heard a lot about, you hear about, politicians about, bringing more broadband. And I think that Bristol, Andy, you might know about this. I think that Bristol received one of these grants or something. They've done some things by getting broadband brought to the community. So we put that application in I know I sent the cover letter to Elizabeth last Saturday. So I just want to let you know that if you happen to hear about that, and again, it'll be a real surprise to me because I really don't know how much money we're really talking about. So therefore, we don't know what the scope. But the focus is on the library. If we can do more, we'll do more, obviously. But that's the focus. So that's the only thing that kind of came to mind. The other thing are obviously driven in the agenda here.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to new business. First one is resignation of First Deputy Fire Chief.
Yeah, there's no action required for the board. I shared Jim's letter by email. Just for the record, Andy, I think I gave you that. So Jim is stepping down as an officer, just going to be a line firefighter, which opens up that vacancy. And by the end of the week, I'm going to put a memo out to everybody in the department requesting, folks to express interest in filling that slot. Jim's position is that of first deputy, and therefore is an appointment, and by charter will be coming back to you for action. So Jim Brewer and I will in essence manage the applications and any interviews if need be, and I'll come back hopefully with I hope there's somebody out there interested in the position, come back with a recommendation for you at the December meeting.
In the past, normally they have taken, and the next ranking officer in line, they bump them up. So whoever is second deputy would become first deputy, and then they fill the vacancy either with a captain to a deputy's position, then fulfill. So that is what normally has been done, but I just don't want to spend a lot of time on this by all of a sudden having to appoint a first deputy and then go back and appoint a second deputy another month later and then appoint a, we don't have to get,
Well,
when we get down to the
actually,
captain levels, we don't have to mess with it. They
Yeah.
do that.
Right,
So.
right.
Okay, all right, taken care of. Community Health Services, contract.
I think this same thing happened last year, so if you're feeling you got deja vu, it's because you don't, but I know why you feel this way. The Community Health Services of Addison County, whatever relationship they have with the government, they cannot have contracts for fee-for-service, all right? However, they can take contributions, and so the draft contract that we sent to them made reference to fee-for-service, and we had to rewrite it, bring it to the city council last year, so now I have the master corrected in the computer. So I've got the original here, and it just makes that single change in the second paragraph. The city shall make a contribution in support of the agency, and that replaces that other language that said, shall pay a fee to support. So
Require a motion, does it?
I think it can either way. I think you can just sign it. It's okay, Mike. So Christine, that's the original there.
Does anybody have any problem with the modification? If not, we'll pass it around, have it signed then. Okay. On that, sewer assessment, senior
Nope,
citizens.
skip C.
Whoops,
Yep.
did I did? Waiver, excuse me. Waiver of petition policy, social service agency. What did I do? Jump one?
Yeah, this is the time of the year when social service agencies begin at least the thought process of making requests to municipalities for funding through an article at town meeting, question about whether or not they need petitions or not. Joan and I did a little bit of research and found that I don't remember it, but I was here. It was in 1994 when the city council adopted by motion some waiver, if you will. And two things. One is we want to be able to, the old motion didn't even require people to request, they didn't even have to request us to see if, we just automatically put them on the ballot, I guess is what I'm saying. They never, if we funded an agency for 3 years, the city, apparently Joan, just automatically put it on the ballot, all right? Because that's what the motion said in 1994. So what I wanted to do was to just take that motion, clean it up in the form of a policy, so that this policy, number one, the people who are on the city council today are not bound by the city council that adopted a policy in 1994. So number one, I wanted the current city council to be aware that this policy existed. And if the city council is comfortable with this policy, this is the policy that Joan would mail out to all of the agencies, right, Joan, that have been allocated money last year, so that they know what the rules are.
Every year they call and say, do I need a petition? It'd be nice
So
to
we
just
just-
mail them the policy.
So
Or
really,
email it
so
to 'em.
basically, I wrote this up. I mean, it's up to the city council. I mean, the city council could decide, no, there are not going to be any waivers, all right? And what we would do is we would send a letter out to everybody saying, the city council is no longer
Honoring
providing for waivers. You want to be on our town meeting day ballot, you need to get
Start
77 signatures. Or if the city council, if this city council is supportive of this 1994 decision, then that's, to me, I think these kinds of things need to be acted on an annual basis, because you can't bind by policy a policy of a future council.
So what are you suggesting, Mel, is do this every year?
I don't have any skin in this. I just want to let you know, this is the policy. I mean, basically, on town meeting day, the law.
That's what we follow right now.
Right now.
There's two ways to get an article on the town meeting ballot, all right? One is this city council puts an article on the ballot. You could do it on your own. You could do it because somebody requested you to do it. So that's one way that articles get put on there. The other way that an article gets put on is when they file a petition with Joan. And if they have the sufficient signatures, and if it is a petition that, like social service agency, which really is governed by a chapter in Title 24, then Joan just automatically will include that article, if it has the sufficient signatures, and puts it in the warning. And she would tell you, this one had a petition, this one is a repeat, this one
Right,
is a
letter of
petition.
request, and
Just one, right? Just that.
it's a lot of work, this petitioning thing, for the people and for us. We have to verify them all, and every year, they all pass, hands down. It's just a lot of work for everyone. So if their request for funding doesn't change, it's the same amount of money, and the voters approve it all 3 years, this waiver allows them on the 4th year to just write a letter requesting that their article appear on the ballot. And like our seniors, when they try to petition every year, of course, everyone waits till the last minute, and January has some nasty weather, and they're standing down there at the recycling center or down at Shaw's trying to get signatures. It's tough.
So, do we need a motion on this?
Yeah, he wrote in there that it was reaffirmed as a policy on November 16th, so I think a motion would be in order.
I'll second it.
Lowell made the motion, Ziggy seconded it, open it for discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Now we'll go on to sewer assessment, senior citizens discount
Yeah.
program.
Mike, obviously, you and I haven't had an opportunity to talk about this in any detail at all. I did give a copy of the Vergennes Water District senior citizen discount. Randy, we had a discussion, obviously, at the last meeting. Zig brought it up about, people were wondering about where our sewer rates were going, and Randy wondered about senior citizen discount. Obviously, I've said it before, it costs us $600,000 to run the wastewater treatment plant. That's what the budget is. And if there's a change in rates, then if somebody's paying less, then somebody potentially is paying more. Now, I will tell you that a couple things. I am going to admit that I may have made a mistake when I put my budget to the city council back at the end of May. Relative to the sewer department, I have to forecast May's flow and June's flow, all right? And when I did that, I really thought that the revenue stream was gonna be $600,000, and as it turned out, it was $589,000. To give you a little bit of history, we haven't raised the rates for a number of years, and the only significant change that has been made is how we bill Job Corps. And when we were billing Job Corps the old way, the total revenue stream was $562,000, $565,000. That change relative to Job Corps brought that revenue stream to $585,000 and then brought it to $589,000. So I just want to let you know that, obviously, a lot of people are on the flat rate system, and so those bills aren't going to change. A number of accounts are on the measured usage, and so there is potentially some deviation in how much money the current rate system goes. So I'm not ready to say that our current rate system is $600,000. So there's a little bit of the bad news. The good news is some of you that have been sitting on the board for a while know when the sewer department was in the hole, and you adjusted rates and then adjusted rates again. And the history is that in FY08, you ended the year for the first time in years with a surplus of around $24,000. FY09, you ended the year with a surplus of about $54,000. For FY10, and you're going to get the financial statements here in another month, the sewer department ended the fiscal year with a fund balance of $70,000, okay? So, that fund balance is growing, and we are putting money aside in, for replacement, for sludge, for capital improvement. So, certainly the rates that we currently have are absolutely sound, in my opinion. So, one of the I guess what I would like to suggest is, relative to senior citizen discount program, number one, does the city council, as a city council, support the idea of having some kind of a senior citizen rate? And if it does, in this instance, I would, I'd like to work with a subset of the city council to
Establish?
Yeah, to come up to instead of just me trying to absolutely guess what are on people's mind, I think it'd be good to at least have a couple people to
let's test the
help out.
waters and see, as the council, on an unofficial vote, but a show of hands of those that are in favor of attempting to come up with some sort of senior discount. Okay?
Can I just,
Yep.
what I'd like to do is, because of all the improvements at Job Corps,
That's another thing.
I don't think this is the year to look at that. I think we need to get a true figure of what Job Corps, how the improvements have affected our sewer.
And they're not done yet. They're gonna be doing more. They spent what they could get money this year, and they're trying to put more money aside next year, so.
But the improvements have been made, which would be reflective in June of 2011. We'll see a difference there on flows.
Mm-hmm.
Although I would love to offer every senior citizen a discount, I don't think it's wise to do it until we can see what those adjusted flows are.
I think, and Mel, correct me if I'm wrong, we could see some form of impact before June.
I don't know where they're at. I don't know where they're at on their project.
They're done the first phase.
Okay.
How many phases are there?
It was supposed to be $1.5 million, and they come up with 700. So they got they're a little over half, and they found, the thing is, they found something that wasn't flowing where it was supposed to flow. I'll say it in a nice way.
Yeah,
And they've corrected that. So for what they removed, they put some more back. But
Yeah,
we can't quantify what that.
I think, Christine, one of the things I agree with you, making sure that we've done an analysis. I really am not at this time suggesting that we make this and implement it in May. I think that May is really too early, because right now I can tell you, as I mentioned to you, I have a $600,000 budget, and I know that the revenue stream, if there is no effect of the improvements of Job Corps, is 589. Okay, so we can't do anything for May. I don't think we can do anything for May, but I think that it's possible that we could do something for November, in
2012?
in November of 2011. All right.
And so, but as Mel is suggesting, and everybody kind of feels that's the way to go, is it wouldn't hurt to get the homework done as far as designing some thoughts, program on how we would accomplish this, and get that down and documented. So when we did figure out where our budget was, then we could apply the final numbers to it.
Yeah, it'd be
So-
a year, in essence, it'd be a year away.
And that would give a committee ample time to put something together.
Sure.
So I would ask, as long as everybody's in favor, I'll just ask Mel to spearhead and for 3 other council members?
2, 3.
2,
whatever.
3, Randy, Ziggy, anybody else? Randy, Ziggy? Chris? Okay. Randy, Ziggy, and Chris serve on that committee. Okay? Good deal. We'll start something rolling on that. Excellent. Mel, you're next online, number E.
Sure.
Yep, sure.
Just reading this, it says the senior discount rate is $11.75 per quarter should qualify. Does that mean it's minus $11.75 to 92, or is
Yes.
it actually $11.75?
No, if you open up the pamphlet, it makes it a little clearer. It's,
okay.
it's, you know,
minus.
I know, I pointed that out to Maria. It's an 11, the discount is 11, the discount is 11.75. The discount rate isn't 11.75, it's the discount.
Because I think there were some people that took it that way.
Yeah, well, the inside of the pamphlet is certainly a little clearer. I pointed it out, but yeah, that would have been a good deal.
Randy?
Yeah.
I just, when we go through this exercise and get it coming up with this, I'd like the discount to be more meaningful than what we're, more than $11 a cycle of
quarter.
billing. I'd like to see it be meaningful.
Ours would be
These
25.
elderly residents need a break.
Yeah, one of the things I have worked with Maria to try to find out participation, and I can tell you, we'll do a major study about what the potential is, I mean, there's only 750 bills going out there, or there's we send 727 bills. We're talking about owner occupied, so there's 600. I mean, you can do a unit by unit analysis. We know who's age 65. I mean, so you can really calculate the potential, and so that we actually know. We certainly don't want to just, if we're going to do something, just throw a number and see how the wind blows and find out how many people apply. We'll know that going in, because I think that, if you're going to have a program, I would hope that there would be 100% participation, and that's one of the things that the water district, because this was not advertised very much at all. It's a program. I was really surprised at how little participation there really was in the program, and I think that if the city's going to have a program, that's going to be in your bill every time, and people, when they turn 65, would say, okay, I'm 65, I want the adjustment, but we'll be able to absolutely calculate that, Randy.
Yeah, well, that's my only worry is that it won't be, I guess meaningful is a bad word, but needs to be meaningful.
You could put the age at 62
I
and
was
promote
just
it
thinking
with
the
your
same
Green
thing.
Mountain passport. When they come in to get their Green Mountain passport, they could come in and sign up for
I know those
that.
cards.
Seniors is national age 65.
So, okay. On to item number E.
E, I know I've sent you a little bit of a sea of numbers. I brought this up at the last, I think I brought this up in October, about the fact that we got surprised by the League of Cities and Towns Health Trust with a 17.56% increase in our medical insurance. And you can rest assured that I did not budget for a 17.56% increase. So basically what I've been doing is I've been just working on this, and I could use, the personnel policy, surprisingly says that the plan that the city provides to its employees is established by the manager, all right? Which to me, when I saw that, I felt that was a little, there's a lot of authority that I have over the plan. But of course, I'm an employee too. Now, obviously, the plan that the city has and has had for, 20 years is really tied into this reimbursement pool. They actually kind of go hand in hand with one, is that the reimbursement pool covers an anticipated amount of deductibles, or a portion of the anticipated amount of deductibles. And if we do not do anything, if there is no change, then that middle chart, you can see the problem that it does to our annual cost. Currently, the total annual cost of premiums is about $170,000, and that's moving to $200,000. So the point is that doing nothing means that over the next 12 months, we have a $30,000 shortfall, either half of that in the budget or half of it in increases in the following year. So the league does have options to go with a higher deductible arrangement, so obviously paying less money for insurance and more money in a pool. And they actually also have a service that they provide. I can't remember the name of it, but basically, currently, the reimbursement pool is actually, people submit medical bills or explanation of benefits to Joan, and Joan puts them in their check. There actually is some HIPAA exposures to that, and it's been done that way for years and years, but probably isn't the right thing to do. So that's one area that I would like to see corrected, really regardless of which way we go, what we do with this. But what I put together to try to keep the budget online would be to do something with a much higher deductible and a much higher medical reimbursement pool, as you can see over in the third group. So again, to the left is where we're at today, 2010. The boxes in the middle is if you do nothing. That's the budget overrun. And over the right is, in essence, the only solution that I've come up with to keep us on budget. And obviously, you know, as the personnel policy says, I have the right to change the medical plan, but what I don't have the right to do is to change the medical reimbursement pool, because the personnel policy sets the medical reimbursement pool at $1,500. And when you go to a much higher deductible pool, you know, obviously the gap in there needs to be backfilled with a reimbursement pool.
What are you?
Well, I was just gonna make the motion to allow Mel to do the necessary changes to help keep costs in line.
I have questions first.
Okay.
Yeah, me too. I just-
I've written all over this. Where does the pool come from?
City.
The city puts in the pot?
City puts it, yeah.
Do any employees make contributions? Is there any employee contributions to the health plan toward
No.
the premiums?
No.
No.
Are they eligible to donate, to put money in their own pool?
I think if we were to develop a relationship with the third-party administrator that would run the medical reimbursement pool, I think that it's possible that they can. I think there is that possibility.
Would this be eligible for HSAs?
It's not an HSA, it's not an HSA, and you know the difference. An HSA is actually owned by the employee.
Right.
This would be an HRA, and it
So
would be
health reimbursement.
a health reimbursement pool, and that's owned by the city. And a similar thing, it just gets replenished the following year. It's a $6,000 pool. People have access to that pool by using either their health credit card, if you will, you know, or submit reimbursements, and that money comes out of that health reimbursement pool, and then after the end of 2011, we replenish. Just like what we do right now, the city funds that medical pool at $1,500,
Yep.
and then at the end of the year, you know, as indicated down the bottom, we pay people 25% of that pool, of which the league is sitting there saying, you're doing what? You got to remember, this is a program that I put together 25 years ago, to get us out of the double Cadillac, no deductible plan, and get us to a deductible plan, which obviously puts some risk on employees. And by people managing their medical pool, they could benefit with the dollars on the, that are remaining in that fund.
Okay, so the deductible, who pays for the deductible? Does that come out of your pool?
Yes.
Right.
Everybody has their own respective pool.
So in the long run, the difference between the current of 187 total
Yep.
is 191, so we're looking for a 4,067.76 increase.
Maximum.
Correct.
Maximum.
Right.
Because actually, it's, the reason why I say maximum is because the maximum is if everybody bottomed out their pool.
Yes.
Because the money, anything that doesn't get paid out of there stays in the health reimbursement.
And does that pool get carried over every year?
Yep.
So they could build and build and build their pool?
It's not theirs, no.
No, it's the city's.
Right. It's not
It
theirs.
belongs to the city.
Yes. It's a health reimbursement.
$6,000 the ceiling.
Correct.
So if they don't use it, we don't spend any money.
That's correct.
And they don't have access to that if they don't use it. They don't have.
And it's only can be used for qualified expenses.
Correct, all right.
And that's just like an HSA with the tax incentive and your
Right. The different, but the difference is some HSAs are actually paid by the employee.
both, yeah, both.
One
We
of them,
both.
one of them can't be paid by the employee. I think that's one of the differences.
Yeah, I want to say HSA can be.
Right. This
Yeah,
one can't be.
can't be.
Right. So to answer your question, can they add to that? The answer is no, because it's not an HSA. It's a HRA.
And how did this, and what do we, when we do use it, you said it depends on the circumstances?
It has to be an eligible medical expense or
Okay.
paying, somebody goes to the doctors and there's a deductible.
Yeah.
All right, then it comes out of the
Okay.
the pool.
All
But
right.
if you use your medical debit card at the grocery store,
It comes out of there too.
it comes out of there too, but there's a penalty.
Okay, so
There'll
each
be a
one,
penalty when you don't use it.
each employee is allowed so much that they.
Correct.
Okay, get back.
And we can financially support the 4,067, when does this go into effect?
Goes into effect January 1.
January 1. And we have the funds to support that.
Yeah,
for
I did
half a
budget
year.
some increase, so yes.
Back to Randy's motion.
I'll second it now. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion by Randy, seconded by Chris. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
So obviously there's a fair amount of work that I have to do between now and then, and it does affect the personnel policy. I need to focus on this, because if there isn't any change by January 1, I'm stuck, okay? So the other personnel policy issues, and actually Joan and I have talked about, there's some improvements in the personnel policy related to definitions of medical expenses and that type of thing that need to apply, particularly, we were looking to get this away from Joan, so that Joan isn't handling deductibles any longer. It's handled by a third-party administrator.
Okay. You get some work ahead of you.
Yeah.
Okay. Some updates. I bet you everybody at home that's watching this, or will be watching this, is glad to see that they finally get rid of that previous one and there's something new to listen to. We'll try to make sure that we keep this going, because we did hear a lot of concerns about when you're going to be on TV again. So it is watched, and we're glad to hear that. On another note, City Voice will be coming out shortly. Mel, that should hit your desk this week for review. I don't know what's happening at the skate park, but excuse me, I'm hearing noise over there, so that is either a good thing or a bad thing. So David was supposed to make some contact with a person from Waltham who was offering to volunteer. I'm not sure how that worked out. And I am excited to tell you, partly excited, our new website is live. It's still got some transition going on, and Jeff hasn't got total control of it to do some of the final adjustment. But most everything, the calendar is there, there's some stuff is there. So we're hoping within the next 3 days, everything will be back up and running, and you have email back?
Yep.
Got that all sorted out?
Yes, we did.
Good, good,
Yep.
good. Holiday stroll coming up. Hopefully everybody can get out and go to that, have breakfast with Santa over at the high school. That's always a good time.
What's the date on that?
December 4th. So, I've been emailing back and forth between a Lynn Miles from the University of Tennessee. She's a anthropologist professor there, and part of her heritage had some connection with the maintenance and overseeing of the creche scene. Joan is going to research some information for me, and actually Lynn is in hopes to be here along with other relatives from New York, Pennsylvania, and other locations throughout the state. And they're looking to pass on another little donation to add to that pot for make sure that if something is needed for the repair or purchase for that set, that they have money to do it with. On a closing note, and I do mean note, and there is a pun intended, okay? Each of you take one. I gotta have 4, right? One down. All right. It's a little gift from the city to you. We need to make some minor corrections, as Joe pointed out, but that's all right. We'll do that on the next batch. But these are now a collector's item. We have a few kicking around, and this is all part of the walking tour. And Cookie is working on some more information and other pieces, as this will come in segments, people. And if anybody's good at French, I have an email from a Canadian that I can't understand, so I can't email back to him. It's all in French. I sent it off to Cookie, and I didn't hear any response yet, so I don't know if she's having it deciphered for me or not, but I may have to send it to you, Andy.
Send it to me. Or
I'll send it to you.
Andy. Send it to me, I'll send it to Andy, we'll get it.
You?
Yeah, we'll
I'll
get
try
it.
sending it to you.
Yeah.
So,
There's enough people who speak French in Vergennes, you
oh,
know.
well, yeah, but, yeah. So,
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious as to what,
I
it
can
goes on and
probably
on.
read it, but
I'd ask for a motion, Joe?
I just want to add congratulations to the high school for the musical that was just put on this past weekend. I think it's congratulations to the students, the staff, and all the community members that were involved. It's just a huge community-wide effort, and always successful every year. So congratulations to the high school.
I'm glad you brought that up, Joe, because that just reminded me of another. I had the opportunity, my wife and I had the opportunity to attend a veterans service at the high school, and it was all about the veterans. And Nate North spoke, and I was so touched by what he had to say. His words just captured those kids, and he talked about them badgering him, trying to give a speech and making noises and all this stuff, and it just like, he quieted the group down, delivered his message on what the day was all about, and it was very, very impressive. So, those people over there doing wonders with kids. Just something that you can look at. I'm not sure if it's something we want to purchase or not, but I got an email about some 1938 pictures that are on eBay for sale, and some bidding. So anybody want to look at that? I'm kind of wondering if it's something we want to.
what is it?
it's some, oh, let's just look at it. So without carrying on a minute, meeting. So I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
Second.
Lowell made it. I saw, actually saw Joe's hand go up before Ziggy did. So all those in favor?
Aye.
So carried.
Mike, I saw that
Yeah,
the
July 4th,
stroll, or the
15th and 16th.
And the fish.